Welcome to Next Topic Podcast, where the only rule is to stay on topic and no topic is off limits. My name is Lo.
And my name is Shad.
My name is Cameron.
And on today's episode,
We'll be talking about
we're going to be talking about racial preferences. And the title of this episode is Preference or Prejudice.
Okay.
Cute.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dunk, dunk.
And before I get into that, I'm going to do a real quick politidate. Yeah. Anyways,
okay.
It's the topic of every day. It's what's on
The
all of our
news.
minds is obviously about vaccines in this coronavirus situation. So recently, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has shown some pretty
Promising
results. Yeah. And so I believe there's going to be an FDA review
on Friday.
Yeah, but by
Yeah.
the time this comes
The
out,
26th?
whatever, it will have happened by then.
On the 26th.
Yes. And it could be released as early as the following day for use.
Oh, really? That quick?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Perhaps.
You gonna get it?
Well, what I was going to say is so there's some good things about this one. Like, it's easy to store and ship, and it's only one shot.
Yes.
That might be something that's attractive to a lot of different folks, like probably like in the lower risk category, because it's not as, if I'm not mistaken, it's not been shown to be as effective as the double dose one.
Right.
However, for like lower risk people, like let's say myself, that might be something that's really attractive and something they can get out quickly.
Right, because the other ones like Pfizer and Moderna can be used as a single dose. That what some countries like in Europe has done. Like, we just gonna only give people like one dose, which shows like so they can like vaccinate more people at like, and it shows what 70% efficacy or whatever. So they can like spread it out like to more people. So Johnson & Johnson is like, if we give people 2 doses, it's pretty much the same shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would give people 2 doses. It can be up in the 98% efficacy, but because they want to do one, also the temperature thing.
Right, which presents a great challenge.
Even
course.
like Pfizer, they realized like, oh shit, ours can be stored at like higher temperatures as well now too. Yeah. So that's also a good thing.
So it's been some time now that people have been getting vaccinated, and I know in a lot of counties and stuff, they rolled out vaccinations for like different tiers of people, based on your roles, whether you work at
that's how it works in California.
Yes, schools and whether you're around children. So
transportation.
Have any of us been made eligible for a vaccine?
Yes. So I was vaccinated today.
Oh, that was today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's so weird.
I love it. Shit, it's been a year and some change. This is something to be celebrated to me.
I think it's been a year. It's been like exactly a year.
Technically, I mean.
Oh, since the whole pandemic started.
Yeah, I'm not talking about like when we started shelter. Yeah, because it was already
Yeah. So I got vaccinated today with the Pfizer one because I work in education. It was a fairly smooth process. It was at the Coliseum. It's like a drive-through vaccination. Like, you just go show your ID and like your appointment and like drive through, and then they vaccinate you while you're like sitting in the car. I requested black people, but luckily it was already black people there. So it's like 2 of them too. I said, "Girl, y'all lucky because I'm gonna ask for some black people." She said, "Look at God, look at God." I love black people at places. But they just give you the shot like right here in your arm. They give you your little ID card. I mean, they fill out the form. They give it to you. But it's a big thing to be carrying around with you.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, you gotta go wait in this like waiting area for like 15 minutes. And they tell you like, oh, honk, or like flash your horn. You have like any side effects,
adverse reactions.
Yeah, to it. So you like they put a little post-it on your windshield. And people like come around, be like, "You good? Are you good? Are you good?" And then after that, it was easy. I got there around 9. I was out of there like 9:30.
Oh, that's what's
so
up.
How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling good.
Y'all see she closer to me this episode.
I feel good. It feels like the usual. When you get a shot, that feeling in your arm.
Yeah.
Like you just keep moving around and stuff like that. But that's the only thing I feel. I get my second one in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's the one they say, you know, you can get like a low grade
Yeah.
fever and stuff like that, have more side effects. So I'll just keep you guys updated on what happens. As like people say, maybe I'm turning into a tiger or some shit.
I wouldn't mind a pet tiger.
So we'll see what happens. You know, a lot of people don't know people who've been like vaccinated before. So I'm here for the people.
Yes, I think it's really important because, like, we had a conversation too about, and we talked about this weeks ago about like vaccine hesitancy, and specifically in the Black community, right? And there's still a lot of that. We're seeing that since vaccinations have started to be distributed, there are vaccines that have been allocated for specific groups of people, and people are not going to get vaccinated, right? So they're ending up with like, hey, we got all these extra vaccines. And I know a lot of people who have been able to get vaccinated when they wouldn't have been eligible because it's just like, we have these vaccines.
Yeah.
Somebody got to get them.
They've been fucking up the vaccine. They're like, oh
They
shit,
have.
we put it in the refrigerator. Anybody want a vaccine?
Exactly. There's been that too. So I think it's great though for there to be more data points for people within their circles of like people getting vaccinated and seeing that, you know, everything's okay. My dad's been vaccinated. I know quite a few people now who have gotten vaccinated, so that's very reassuring for me, and I'm sure it'll be reassuring for like people in your circles as well.
I'm like the first one in my family to get vaccinated.
Well, I'm very happy for you. I can't wait to get vaccinated too. I'm jealous. And with that, that's pretty much all we wanted to kind of update and talk about for this portion. So I will get into our topic.
We'll get it to the topic of today.
So we actually already had a really like intense conversation about this. So Cameron, I'm really looking forward to your perspective on this as well. So we watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake. Right now they are showing, well, they just wrapped up like their reunion. Right? And one topic that came up during the reunion was about one specific, and I'll get into the details of the cast member later, but one specific cast member saying that they didn't like someone or like people of a particular race, right? So I thought,
as in like attraction.
Yes.
And being with, not
yeah. They weren't attracted. They weren't attracted to a certain racial group. So I was like, oh, it would be really interesting to talk about this whole notion of people saying like they're not attracted to a certain racial group, whether or not that is just their preference. Because like a lot of times we hear like people like, that's just my preference, right? Is that their preference, or is that, you know, some deep rooted prejudice that they carry with them? So let's start there with racial preferences. So one, I want to know if y'all have them. Do you feel like you have any racial preferences when it comes to dating people or attraction?
Yes.
Have you ever? Oh, okay. That was very quick. Okay.
I'm like, we look at it every day.
So it's funny. It actually changed. So growing up, I actually wasn't attracted to Black women. Don't know why. Just wasn't. And I got to college, shit changed. I was attracted to Black women. It was my number one option, my number one choice. I was just like, I don't want to deal with nobody else, nothing else. This is what I want. Growing up, I was really, my number one preference was Latin women. Just loved any and everything about them. Like it just, but now they're my number two. And Black women.
Number two? No ranking them, child.
Oh, yeah.
I'll rank them too.
Black women are my number one.
Cameron, so when you were younger, did you like ever like make a statement or think to yourself, I am not attracted to Black women? Or was it just like, you know, the women I'm seeing, I'm not attracted to, and like reflecting on it, you're like, oh, I wasn't attracted to those Black women? Or was it like, you know what, you get what I'm saying?
No, I definitely said it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, because I knew that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I definitely said it. Like, because people would ask, like, you know, the fellas would ask, close friends would ask, like, you know, what do you like to date? I'm like, well, or they say, what do you not like to date? My preference is I wasn't attracted to
And you
Black
said
women.
this was the case until you were of college age.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And also, what's interesting what you said about that, you said that was my number one option and number one choice. I interpreted it that as I had no other options.
No, I definitely had a lot of
You went to school in LA. So you had an option.
I had a lot of options, and even in high school, I had a lot of options. My high school was fucking huge.
It was.
So I think option was the wrong word to say.
Okay.
It was choice.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because you said both of them. I'm like, is that all you had?
Yeah, no, I definitely had more than that. But.
Okay.
And so you also said you have racial preferences when it comes to like dating. And
yes.
Attraction.
I do. And like what I want to say is because sometimes it's a difference between like what I'm attracted to and like just visually and like what I actually like feel as though I want to like date.
Okay, so I don't want you to jump ahead.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
We can come back to that. But
I just like off top,
let's stick with like attraction
preference.
right
yes,
now. Like physical
attraction. Like if we just
see.
look at somebody, it's usually like black. That's probably the similar rank to yours. Mine just never has changed. It's just like black,
Hispanic.
Yeah, Latinx. Then it's a little murky.
After that, it gets a little murky.
It gets a little murky.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. But like I have had attraction to like people of all races. But like somebody had to like ask me like you got to pick one. I would say like black and then like Latinx.
But I will tell you at the bottom of my list is white people.
Okay, we can come back to that. But you are open. Like you're not saying like, oh, I'm not saying I would never be attracted to a such and such person.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would never say that. I was like, it has been like because like with black people, I feel like I have been attracted to more of them. We can get into like reasons why later. And then like the list goes down to then like it's like white, Asian, or whatever.
What I'm curious to know about for you, Roshad, because as a gay black man, right? To what extent does your identity as a gay man also influence, your attraction to other groups based on, we kind of talked about this before, but like some of the like different dynamics that exist within the gay community.
Yeah, the racist ass gay community.
The gay community is racist?
Like, do you feel like some of that has made you that's been off-putting and made you like not be attracted to certain groups of people?
I don't actually think so.
Okay.
I can't say like it is or doesn't. But I don't think it like just because I'm gay it changed like my preferences to like a race of people.
Yeah.
But I can like I'm like
because I guess I'm jumping ahead too because that's like getting into like
the
additional like culture. Who you are.
Don't jump ahead. We'll get there.
Boy. Okay, so me, I don't have any preferences, and I don't think I ever have. Growing up, I was attracted. I was exposed to all kind of people. Like from elementary school, like it was all kind of kids. Latinx, Asian.
Is that what we call them now?
White.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I apologize to the Latinx community for saying the word Hispanic.
Well, you can Hispanic. You can say.
But I was exposed to all kind of people, and so if I thought they was cute, and I never really thought about what race they were. No, so I can't say I ever had like a preference. But what I will say, like you said, like, are you attracted to a lot of black people? Yes, I'm attracted to a lot of black people. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I am a black woman. And so it looks like the features of my mom and my dad and my grandparents and all that stuff. And I see them, they're beautiful to me, Not that other people in other races aren't beautiful too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, black people too. Here's the other thing: black people, we come in so many different flavors, and shades, textures.
That's why, like, there's kind of like exceptions to the rules. Like when you say you have a preference in, like when I said I wasn't attracted to black women growing up, there was always exceptions to the rules where there was like certain black women like, okay, yeah, she's gorgeous, you know what I mean, or she's beautiful, and I am attracted to her specifically, but as the group in general, I just wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Cause like.
So I do want to talk about like the black people and like just the black community, right? Anyway, so the next question I have, okay, so that addressed whether or not we each Cameron, you don't stop doing that. You do that every damn episode.
What?
I catch myself looking over here and Cameron over here cutting up, making all kind of faces and looking at the camera.
Making faces at you.
You just cut him off. Like, I get it. We just gonna do. So this is what we're gonna do.
Cameron, are you leading this episode or am I?
I don't know.
You don't lead the episode.
Okay.
I'm just an auxiliary.
So,
Threw you off. Huh?
it really did. Okay, so no, going back to the Real Housewives thing.
Yes.
So to share some context here, the person who said it was a Black woman, right? And she said she is not attracted to Black men.
With a Black husband.
And she has a Black husband.
Say that.
Yes. But here's the thing about her Black husband. Her Black husband
is her grandfather.
Well, was married to her grandmother. So they shared none of the same blood, but he was married to her grandmother, and it was some situation where her grandmother wanted him to. They have a church and business and all this stuff, and they wanted to keep it in the family. Anyways, yes, she is married to her grandmother's
step-grandfather.
Yeah,
grandfather.
Her departed grandmother's ex-husband. Anywho, so there's that. So I'm like, whether or not their relationship is really like of substance, like love and all that stuff is
well,
up
asked a question.
It's up in the air. Yeah, she started crying and said she loves her Chanel's.
Do you love her husband? He buys me Chanel.
Who was monetary? Got it.
So, but okay, all that aside, Black woman who says she's not attracted to Black men, and that immediately to me was like, what? It didn't make sense
that was
to
very
me.
off-putting for you.
Yes. Cameron, because we already kind of talked about this, what do you think about that? Like a Black person not being attracted to other Black people, and you said you weren't attracted to Black women growing up.
Right. I mean, I just honestly think I think as humans and life experience, we go through different phases and we like different things, and stuff changes so often that this could just be something new for her or a phase in her life where she's just not attracted to it.
I think she's like, what, 50?
What does that mean? Life experience happens at all ages.
You would assume though,
but
that
don't
life
assume. Don't assume.
No, let me make my assumption first before you tell me not to make my assumption. You would assume life would teach you and expose you to so many different Black people from different walks of life, where to make such a blanket sort of judgment for an entire group of people, that when you do things like that, typically it's due to you having a lack of exposure, right? Or maybe you haven't lived enough life, or, being naive. Mm-hmm. So to think that someone 50 and Black, not 50 and white, who lives in, some...
She do live in Salt Lake City.
She's a Black woman, though. That all is odd. Why you would say, like, why would you go through more life and then not have an attraction to Black people? I understand why you would, at an early stage in your life, maybe you just haven't been exposed to all kind of Black people. So Cameron, help me understand why getting older would make it okay.
Don't assume. So like I was saying, regardless,
I asked a question.
I was getting ready to answer.
Go ahead.
Before you cut me off with your assumption. Like I was saying, just because you're older or having life experience or exposure doesn't mean situational experiences cannot change the way you think of a certain group at a certain time.
But your own group too.
It doesn't matter. The group is the group. It doesn't matter if it's my group, if it's his group, her group. It doesn't matter. A situational experience can change how you feel about said group.
Do you think it's okay? That's my question.
I think anybody's entitled to feel however they feel. That's just like saying a white person being racist. You're entitled to how you feel. Is it right or is it wrong? To me, it's wrong. To you, it's right. Morally, I believe it's wrong as well. But you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to how you feel. Who am I to tell you you can't feel this way?
I asked if it was right or wrong.
It's neither. You can't say
You
that
just
somebody's
said it was
for racism. Yeah,
to
to
you,
me,
it's
it's
wrong.
right.
Yes.
Oh, so you said
that's
for her, is it right or wrong? It's not wrong.
So hers is wrong. She get her specifically.
Yes,
us knowing Mary.
See, and the thing is like I don't know her. I don't watch the show.
But not only that, so what I struggle with is that we are always constantly, championing for this, for the fact that we are not all the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when people, whether you're being racist, prejudiced, and whether you're or sexist or whatever the case may be, and you're clumping a whole group of people together, not only is it like, oh, I feel that's wrong, it is wrong because they're all not the same. So I can feel like I don't feel like that's subjective. That's
so that goes to say what I said earlier about there being exceptions to the rules. How I said that I just wasn't attracted to black women, but there were, because we aren't all the same, there were those ones that would be like, oh wow, she is attractive to me. Oh, she is black.
So I don't see that as like, that's not being not attracted to black. I don't see that as like, oh, you weren't attracted to black women. There was just certain women you didn't, but you were attracted to some black women. So that's not the whole group. Mary is literally saying,
so I wasn't
not attracted to.
I wasn't attracted in high school, in middle school, whatever. I wasn't attracted to black women.
Black women that ever.
Not until there were those onesies and twosies, and I was like, oh, she is very attractive and she's black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I think,
do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think because yours is like so. Because I think when people ask like what type of race you're attracted to, you like generally I'm attracted because like I'm attracted to this race of people. You're not attracted to all of them,
right?
Yes,
and when you say like I'm not attracted to this race, you're not saying you're not attracted to all of them either,
right? It goes both ways.
Well, so like I've heard a lot of people say like, and let's say people who aren't black say like, I don't date black girls. I don't like them, right?
But then they see Kelly Rowland and be like, oh, I like Kelly. You see what I'm saying? Or I think, oh, Beyonce. I think it happens.
There are those exceptions to even your own rules.
Well, I don't make those rules, so I'm trying to understand.
I mean, you make your own rules.
No, not racially.
No, I make those rules. Like, say for instance, if someone's like, I'm going to see like a dating coach or find a matchmaker, right? And the matchmaker asks me, generally, what type of like races like are you attracted to? Like, I would name like black and
but I see that as a little different, and I think that is, it's one thing to say I'm generally attracted to these, like if somebody's asking what kind of groups of people like, it's another thing to say I don't like these people. There's a clear distinction there between the two.
I think, but I would say like to give someone like perspective. I would say like, oh, I'm not attracted to this group.
Yeah, they could be like, oh, so what kind of people are you generally attracted with? I do not like white people. That's one thing. Or like, oh, I typically like, I date black guys and Asian guys or whatever. Those are two different things.
So if you were to ask me what I'm attracted to, and I said I'm not attracted to black women, but I walk down the street and be like, oh, she's cute. Just because I would say
you're not attracted to black women.
You can't say that there's a general attraction across the board and not be attracted to some in that general group, but then when you do it the opposite way, that it doesn't work that way as well.
That's like me saying I don't like chocolate, like the candy, right? Chocolate. I'm like,
but if it's coupled with something else,
I like that chocolate. No, it's either I don't like it or I don't like it, and I don't like chocolate.
That's not true.
I'm using that as an example because I don't like chocolate, right? But I don't like it in no sort of.
I don't like licorice, Red Vines, Twizzlers, none of that shit. But give me Australian licorice and I'll fuck it up.
Okay, but Cameron, we already know how you are with all these different. You got a lot of exceptions to a lot of things.
That's because I'm human.
No, Cameron.
Yes.
No,
I am human. I'm not human. What am I?
To be clear and straight.
Everything is not straight. Everything's not black and white, Lauren.
That is
There's
true.
a gray area to a lot of things in the world.
Your name is Lauren.
I know, but y'all usually don't call me that on here. That's true. I agree there. But you also, there has to be, if you're going to say something, like sometimes like it's necessary to also back up what you say and not.
Is this only with race with you? Like, it's almost like, oh, I'm only attracted to like tall guys. But then
no, I'm only talking about race.
I was like, but I don't see it as being a difference.
There isn't.
Because it's almost like, oh, like you like tall.
So that's where I wanted to get into as well, specifically on the topic of Black people and people saying that they're not attracted to them. Mm-hmm. So the topic of this conversation was that preference or prejudice. And so it also gets down to whether or not your dislike or your lack of attraction towards Black people as a Black person, whether or not that's some sort of internalized
oppression,
like prejudice and rooted in racism. And, you know, the fact that we live in a society that praises, you know, Western sort of features, right?
Is it only for the black on black one?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about. Like, where do you think that comes from when Black people aren't attracted to other Black people? And do you think that there's any correlation there between that and the fact that we have historically been told that Black features are not attractive
or not desirable? I guess generally speaking, I would say no, without like knowing the context and like the person. Like, I wouldn't just, if somebody say like, I'm not attracted to Black guys, I would not necessarily think it was rooted in prejudice. But if someone say I'm not attracted to Black women, then I would say yes.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because when it comes to like Black women specifically, a lot of people aren't attracted to Black women because of like
the social stigma.
Not just social stigma, but like their attitude. They're too like aggressive or like loud.
I think, is that what you meant?
That's what I meant.
Oh, what you meant social stigma of me dating a Black person?
No.
That's what I thought you meant by social stigma. Yeah, of like all
the
that
baggage,
yeah,
the attitude,
the attitude, all that, and that's prejudice
to
me because you just made an assumption about all of them. But when they say about men, I don't think so because like they usually don't come with all that extra.
Yeah, so that was one. So there's that. Like we mentioned this at the start of this was like there's like the attraction with like the whole person and like what are their stereotypical traits, right? But then there's the physical,
feature,
right? And so for me, I struggle with this. Like if someone says they're not physically attracted to Black people, it then for me the dots that connect in my head are that you are not physically attracted to Black features. And so then I question, why aren't you physically attracted to Black features? One, because I find Black features beautiful, but two, also because of the historical context behind it. And like I said, how we've been told, like our Black noses and our Black lips and our Black textured hair, and which comes in all kind of textures, is not beautiful.
Okay, I hear you. And I can somewhat agree with that. However, at what point do we connect the fact that sometimes our preferences are based on just chemical reactions or just the way we're born, such as our sexual orientation? You're born liking who you like, whether it's men or women, depending on what you are. It really doesn't matter. Sometimes you just like what you like. There's nothing behind it. So you can't think that it's like, oh, with this person, I can't tell if it's prejudice or preference because they could just be born and just like this said individual.
Well, one, that's why I asked the question. I didn't make any statements or claims about whether or not someone's preference was just preference or prejudice. So,
but when you said that when people tell you that they don't like Black people,
struggle with
that
it,
you
and
think
I make certain
that it's because of the Black features and because I like the Black features that.
Anyways, I didn't say that, but you can roll the tape back. I didn't.
Oh, not roll the tape back.
Roll the tape back, child.
You just said
all
it.
I said, no, but I didn't. What I did not do, Cameron, which I feel like you are saying I did, was that I was passing a judgment on the people who have a preference. I wasn't doing that. I said
I just asked a question. When do we say that this is?
I know, but what I was saying is like I don't know what it is. I'm asking whether or not there's any correlation. I don't know. It was just like a talking point.
Y'all both asking each other
the
questions.
same question.
Right.
Like I'm just asking, is there correlation? And I think the difference between, I think that's a great point you're making, Cameron, about, people's sexual orientation. However, like we talked about this with a friend about like race and like it's something that we constructed ourselves, right? But it's been a driving force for society for so long. It's hard to just say like, oh, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's where like the questioning comes from, because like once you're here, you're going to be influenced by the racial structures that we have, whether you like it or not. So that's why it's just like, to what extent are people influenced by that once they start claiming their preferences?
So I guess my question to you is, when you're in a situation where that occurs or someone says that to you, is your first thought is prejudice, or is your first thought is preference? There's follow-ups when you ask her.
It might depend on who.
Yes, I was gonna say it does depend on who it's coming from, who it's directed towards. I think it's way more, for me, it's way more complicated when it's like a black person versus it, like if some white person says I'm not attracted to black people, it then it reads to me as prejudice. Yes. So yeah, it depends on the context.
Okay, so depending on your answer, it probably doesn't matter, or you probably don't care enough to do so, but do you try and figure out, based on this person's character and how they treat other people in that race that they say they don't like, to determine whether it's prejudice or preference?
No, because one, I don't really care that much.
I figured.
Two,
I asked.
Also, well, the two is like, people treat people outwardly like with all kind of respect and whatnot, but behind closed doors they will.
Right, because also you ask these questions to people you kind of know or ish already.
That too.
Right, you don't like go around asking people, what do you prefer? What racial group you attracted to? You usually know somebody. If somebody says something that's off-putting, you start asking like, why are you attracted to that group or not that group? You ask like questions like that.
Yeah.
So,
but I guess I'm just trying to figure out figure out if it's prejudice or preference, how they treat that group of people that they're not attracted to on a regular basis versus on the attraction level.
Because you can like work with racist people, they might,
and you might not never know.
You never know.
So it's hard. I would say for myself, in terms of like preference, mine, I think for me, it stems from how much like association I have with people from that group. Like whether like I prefer them or not.
Culturally, are you saying like if you have
cultural
connections or like,
any type of connection?
Yeah, okay.
Because like my list preference goes by if I interact with that group, how much I'll often interact with that group. So like growing like middle school, elementary school, like I was around black people most of the time, and then like it was something like Latinx people. Then I got to high school, that's when like I first started having like white friends, and like, oh, like maybe I'm attracted to like this like white person, like these like one-offs. And then like later in life I like start knowing more Asian people. It's like, oh, so I find stuff here like attract, because like I never really was a part of or knew of like those groups, so I couldn't be attracted to it.
That makes total sense to me, which is why I was also confused by Mary. Because I'm like, over time you typically are exposed to more people. Like Cameron, you got
I could get more exposed to it and be like, oh, I really don't like it.
Yes, but then that's where, to me, I feel like the cultural aspects start to come in more into play. And so it's just like odd to me that a black person would, one, just physically not be attracted to other black people, but then also
maybe
like,
I don't like bigger noses or bigger lips. That's probably just
I know. I and that's
because
fine,
I don't
but
like
I think
paper thin lips.
Yeah, but you also didn't like black women. And with that,
right, and I was exposed to them, so I'm not understanding.
Right, he's already exposed. Like he made not a conscious decision, or I don't know if
I don't think it was conscious. I just wasn't attracted to them at the time, and I grew up in all black schools.
I think that's perfectly fine. I think you've grown and you like whatever you like, and I think that's fine.
So do you think I was prejudiced?
No, but I don't know what you were thinking when you were,
I think the question you need to ask yourself is, why didn't you?
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm like, you need to think about it now. I ask myself that question.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't I like this like certain group of people? Like, what is it about?
What is bothering you?
You.
Like, and like
what's not or bothering me, or what I don't find as attractive? It could be because like certain like group facial features go this, like this, or that way.
I mean, it was so long ago, I wouldn't even know how to think about the people that I weren't attracted to.
I know, but I'm talking about like as you're an adult and you look back and reflect, because that's what adults do.
Right. I hear you. But to really try and break down why I wasn't attracted to them at the time, I have to but remember encounters with said individuals to figure out why I wasn't attracted.
I think you could also, because this is the same thing goes for like racist people, right? And sometimes, a lot of the time, it's your environment. I'm not saying it was your environment, but you could also look at other factors, because there are other like factors that
came into play.
Yeah, that made you think that way. It wasn't just you, Cameron. Like, because like as a young man or woman or whoever, you're very impressionable, and like it's not just, you know what I mean. It's not just you. It's also what you're around as well. And we've talked about this. My family is very colorful. Let's put it that way. So I grew up with aunties and uncles of different races and ethnicities.
What about her?
Growing up around her and being around people.
I feel like I'm in Yala now, child.
Being around people who I grew up with that don't look like her.
Could be. We used to run a lot of females, though.
Yeah, I was.
You went to school with thousands.
Okay,
so
brothers. On that note,
yeah,
keep this conversation going. Let us know what you think. Be happy, love people. Don't hate on people, but love who you love.
And keep your preferences, but don't be prejudiced.
That was very
right. Or
Cameron,
just like
that was very, I can shake your hand on that. You know, I'll call it truce. Remember to like, subscribe, click that link, follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, YouTube, all the little stuff, Instagram at Next Topic Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at CoolKeys, COOLKEYS.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at shots_space. That's SHADS_SPACE.
I was gonna say, last time you did that, the lights went out. So go ahead.
I almost fucked you up.
You can follow me on everything at Clicks by Cam. That's KLICKS BYKAM.
Bye.